Hi, this is Krista at The Secret Yarnery. Today we are making the super chic Orchid Storm Scarf. If English isn't your first language, you can click this gear on the video and scroll through to find your preferred dialect. And this easy-to-follow step-by-step crochet tutorial is available in both right and left-handed, so please check the description box below to find the version that suits you best. The Orchid Storm Scarf is a fabulous way to elevate any old regular yarn you might have laying around, and it's a great way to practice your front post and back post double crochet, as well as use and master eyelash yarn. It features an interesting 2-row repeat, which is a challenge without being overwhelming. The finished size of my scarf is 75 inches by 14 inches, and I used 400 grams of Savor, which is 660 meters, and I also used 1 ball of eyelash glitz, which is 100 grams and 140 meters. I'll be using a 7mm crochet hook. You will also need a needle for sewing in your ends and a pair of scissors. If you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, all of my patterns are available on my website, secretyarnery.com, and all of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. If you find this tutorial helpful, please subscribe to my channel for more, and here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off. Let's get started. To make your Orchid Storm scarf, you're just going to start with your gray color yarn, but just because it doesn't show up too well on my background, I'm going to be teaching you the stitch with this pink yarn here, just so you can see it better. So you'll be using your gray yarn. We're just going to start by making a slip knot any which way you normally do, shrinking that down and popping it onto your hook. Now you can make yours any width you want, but you just have to do a little bit of math if you want to do it different than mine. It has to be any multiple that is an even number and a multiple of 3. So for ours, we're going to be doing 48. So chain 48. For this sample, I'm going to be chaining 24, but you are going to be chaining 48, so twice as wide as this. And then when you have your 48, you're going to chain 1 more. Now you can roll that chain to the side. We're going to be working into these back loops, or these little camel bumps right here. We're just going to go in and make 1 single crochet into each stitch. And if working into your back loops is difficult, you can just work into your chain. We're just going to slide that back loop onto our hook and make 1 single crochet. And 1 single crochet into each back loop all the way along. So now we're going to end up with 48 stitches. 48 single crochet. You could also do chainless single crochet foundation or chainless foundation with single crochet stitch if you wanted to. But just go back and slide your hook into each of those back loops, 1 single crochet into each. You can pause the video and I'll meet you when you get to the end of your chain. So there is our 48 stitches, or your 48 stitches, my 24 stitches. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and turn your work. Our chain counts as our first stitch into the first stitch, so into that next stitch, this one right here, we're going to go in and make 2 double crochets. So 2 double crochets into that next stitch. So there is the beginning of our row. Now we're going to skip a stitch and work into the second with 2 double crochets. Skip a stitch and work into the second, 2 double crochets. Skip a stitch, work into the second, 2 double crochets. So you can pause the video and keep doing this all the way along your row, and I will meet you when you get right over here, right at the end. So now we have 2 stitches left, 2 cute little V's. So we're going to skip one and into the last, just 1 double crochet to finish off the row. So 1 double crochet into that last stitch. So that finishes row 2. Now for row 3, we're going to be doing something fun. This is going to be our fun round. So chain 2, 1 and 2, turn your work. Now we're going to be working around our stitches for this row. So we're going to wrap your yarn, and we're going to do a front post double crochet around this stitch right there. So just slide your hook under that stitch and make your double crochet around it. Just a regular double crochet, but around that stitch with your hook at the front of your work. We're going to do that around both of those stitches, our first pair. So it looks like that. Now around the next set, we're going to do back post. So we still wrap our yarn, but we go from behind and over and back down. So the stitch is around our hook, but at the back of our work. And we do our double crochet or our back post double crochet. And we're going to do that for this next stitch as well. So hook up from behind and then double crochet around that post. Around the next 2, front post. So from the front, get that stitch on your hook and make your double crochet. And around the next stitch at the front of your work, put it on your hook and make your double crochet. The next 2, back post. So wrap your yarn, go from behind, and just get that 1 stitch on your hook, a back post double crochet. Wrap your yarn, and we're going to do that to the next stitch. Just like that, back post double crochet. So we're going to alternate that all the way along this row. So we did our back posts, and now we're going to do our front post. Each pair gets the opposite. So front post twice, and then back post twice. So there's our back post double crochet and another back post double crochet. So you can pause the video and keep working along this row. Take your time. We're just alternating doing 2 front post double crochet and then 2 back post double crochet all the way along. And I'll meet you when we get to the end of this row. At the end of your row, we have our chain. We want to be working into the top of that chain 2. So just slide your hook into that chain. So you have 2 strands on the top of your hook, and make your last double crochet to finish off the edge of your shawl. And that finishes row 3. And now we are ready for row 4, which is our speed row. This is really fast. So we're just going to alternate the row we just did, row 3 and row 4, all the way through until your wrap or scarf is the length you want it to be. To start row 4, or the speed row, go ahead and chain 2 and turn your work. And we want our chain facing us, so slide your hand underneath your working yarn, grab your work and turn it. That means when we get to the end of our work, our chain is going to be facing us. See those cute little V's? So it's a lot easier to work into. So now we are just going to work in between our pairs. So it doesn't matter if it's front post or back post. We are just going to be working in the center with 2 double crochets into the center of each pair. So wrap your yarn. And here is our first center. You can see where our front posts are. Those are together. And our back posts are behind. We're going to go right there in the middle and make 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Into the center of the next pair, 2 double crochets. And into the center of the next pair, 2 double crochets. So just make sure that you are working into the center of your pairs, because there's also a space in between the pairs. We don't want that. We want to split those pairs apart and put our 2 double crochets right in the center of our pairs of stitches. So you can pause the video and keep working along. 2 double crochets in between each pair of stitches of the row below. And I'll meet you when you get to the end of your row, right over here. At the end of our row, we're going to work into our chain. So just into the top of our chain 2 strands of that chain on the top of our hook, and we're going to finish our row with 1 double crochet. So that finishes our speed round. And now I'm going to show you how to tell what you're going to do when you start our front post, back post row. So always chain 2 and turn your work. And now sometimes we're going to start with front post and sometimes we're going to start with back post. And I'm going to show you how to tell what to do. So these little bars that sit on top, those are front post. And this little bar that's horizontal, that is back post. So we started with front post right here, these front post, because if it was back post, we'd have a bar. We'd have this little ledge right there. So we have bars going up. That means front post. So we're going to start with back post. So wrap your yarn and go in from behind to back post double crochet to start our row. And if you have this bar down below, this little ledge, I think like a little bird could be sitting on it, this little ledge right here. So if you have a ledge, that means you're going to do front post next. So that's how you can kind of tell what you need to do going along. So now you can pause the video and keep working along, and I'll show you the start of the next row when we're going to be starting with front post double crochet so you can see what that looks like. Now here is when we're going to start with back post because we have our 2 tall stitches right there. So that means we're going to be starting with back post first. And here is our little ledge. So this is going to be front post. So that's what you have to look for. Whatever starts first, if it is tall stitches, we got to build a ledge or do our back post. If it's a ledge, we have to do our tall stitches, which is a front post. So pause the video, keep working along until your shawl or wrap is the length you want it to be. When your scarf or wrap is the height you'd like it to be, I used 400 grams of yarn for mine. And we want to end on a row of double crochet, and we were going to finish it the same way we started. So we're going to add a row of single crochet, just so that the both ends of our wrap or shawl or scarf match. So chain 1 and turn your work. And now into the first stitch. And every stitch along the row, we're just going to do 1 single crochet. So 1 single crochet into the first stitch and 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way along. So you can pause the video, just 1 single crochet into each stitch, and I'll meet you when you get to the end of your row. At the end of your row, you want to do your last single crochet into that chain. Just pop your hook into the top of that chain and make your last single crochet. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. That finishes the scarf. Now we are ready to start the border. To start the border, I'm not turning my work, I'm just going to start over on this corner here. I just don't want 2 tails on the same side. And I'm just going to pop my hook in to this very first stitch right there. So just pop your hook in and loop of your new yarn on your hook. Slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail and chain 2. 1 and 2. So that counts as your first double crochet. And this yarn is going to be a bit hard to see, but we're going to be just basically making granny clusters, so 3 double crochets into the 3rd chain all the way along. The good thing about not being able to see your stitches, no one's going to be able to see if you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong. So just go ahead. We can work over our tail for these 2 double crochets into that same stitch. So just pop your hook in, work over that tail, and make 2 more double crochets into that very same stitch. And we're going to skip 2 stitches and into the 3rd, 3 double crochets. Skip 2 and into the 3rd, right there, 3 double crochets. And our amazing border is already starting. So you can pause the video, keep working along your row, skipping 2 and 3 double crochets into that 3rd stitch all the way along, and I'll meet you when we get right over here to the end of the row. At the end of your row, we're going to work right into that last stitch right there, but we're just going to do 1 double crochet to finish our row. So that finishes row 1. Now I'm going to show you the repeat, and we're going to do the next row until your border is the width you want it to be. To start the repeat of the border, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. Now into this very first space right at the edge of our shawl. We're always going to start like this, by the way. So into this very first space, 2 double crochets because our chain counts as our first stitch. So that counts as our first set of 3 double crochets. And now into each space all the way along, we're going to do 3 double crochets. So that's all we're doing for this row, 3 double crochets into each space. What you want to look out for is that you don't skip a space. You don't skip that one and then start over here. So just feel with your fingers where those stitches are and then feel the next space. Just pop your finger in there and then that's where you're going to make your 3 double crochets. Slide your fingers along again to find the next space and 3 double crochets into the next space. So you can pause the video and keep working along 3 double crochets into each space all the way along, and I'll meet you when we get closer to the end, right over there. At the end of your row, there's my last 3 double crochets into that last space, and then we have our first stitches here. I'm just going to pull that chain away, and we're just going to make 1 double crochet into that space, or you could work into your chain if you can see your stitches, to finish off our row. So you can pause the video and just repeat that until your border is the width you want it to be. So we're always going to start with a chain 3, always going to be turning our work, and always 2 double crochets into this very first space. And then 3 double crochets into each space all the way back. Just use your fingers to slide along to feel each space. We don't want to skip any. And do 3 double crochets into each. At the end, after our last set of 3 double crochets into that last space, we're just going to do 1 double crochet around that stitch or around our chain to finish off our row. So pause the video and I'll meet you when your border is the width you want it to be. When your border is the width or the height you want it to be, at the end of your row, just chain 1, cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. So that's one side finished. Now we are ready do the exact same thing on the other side. It doesn't matter which side you work into because our pattern is completely reversible. We just don't want to work into where our tail is. So just pop your hook into the first stitch on the other end of your wrap or scarf and start your border exactly the same as we did on the other side. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video up there, and stay hooked.